All Souls Witchy Women Podcast, Episode 13, A Discovery of Witches, Season 2, Themes We Can't Wait to See. Welcome to All Souls Witchy Women, a fan and definitely not official podcast where we talk all things All Souls. We're three women who met over Outlander and then jumped into the All Souls world like the time-traveling witches we wish we were. This is a very special episode for us because we're not just talking about the second season of A Discovery of Witches. We're doing it in the same room, Ashley and Janet and me. But if that's not enough, our friend Denise is also with us, and somehow we roped her into sitting in front of a microphone and playing along with this podcast game. So, to recap, we've got four witchy women
who met over Outlander.
A bottle of, well, we don't have, okay, in full disclosure, we don't have a bottle of wine, but we do have lubricating beverages.
Libations.
Yes, libations. And we've got a lot of thoughts and feelings about season 2. So we just completed a reread of Shadow of Night, and the All Souls discussion group is currently doing a real-time discussion of the book. And we're waiting impatiently for season 2. So we asked ourselves, what better time to think about the scenes that we're most looking forward to in season 2? So here we are. Speaking of the All Souls discussion group, we're partnering with them for the duration of the real-time discussion of Shadow of Night. And if you've read Shadow of Night, you know that real-time discussion is going to go on and on and
until
on.
July.
Yeah. So if you promise to stay with us through the entire podcast episode, we promise to share with you the details on how you can win some really cool witchy stuff at the end. So.
I kept it in so long. I was like, is she going to stop? I just want to squeal. Because we can squeal in the same room.
So, I'm going to do my Beyonce intro now. Right. Ashley, can you handle this?
I don't think you're ready.
Denise, can you handle this?
I don't think you're ready.
Janet, can you handle this?
I don't think you're ready.
Well, ain't nobody ready for the jelly, but we're just going to do this. We're going to do it. So, here we go. We don't have much of a roadmap this time because we are just going to gush about all the scenes and just general things that we want to see in season 2 of A Discovery of Witches. So,
I think that's fair. I feel like there's people that have said, oh, it feels like when we're listening to your podcast that it's like hanging out with a group of friends in a room talking about something you love. So that's the roadmap. Here we are. We're doing it live now.
Right.
We're doing, well, not live, but
we're alive.
Well, we're alive.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I just mean.
And that's something.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Okay. Just because I've been talking, I'm going to say this one thing, that Gallowglass, that's what I'm looking forward to. Seeing Gallowglass march into the door at, where are they when he comes in? Oxford? Yes. I'm just looking forward to him coming in out of a storm and looking menacing, also hot and beastly.
Yes, all the Gallowglass things. I also think that I've noticed in this reread, because I've read the whole series. I'm paying more attention to the nuances around him, sort of, and the little hints we get of what his real feelings are.
Yes.
Which, leads to a fabulous scene.
Right.
In the last book. But there are definitely hints here. Matthew even says at one point, he's as protective of you as I am.
Yes.
Which, is no small
deal. And the first time I read it, I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then you read the third book and you're like, oh.
That's so sad. Yeah, so there are a lot of little moments like that. And when he puts the shawl on her, we were talking about that earlier, like he just pays attention to Diana's needs in that vampire way. Just the way he calls her auntie.
Yes.
So your excitement, what's it doing for you now that you know it's Stephen Cree?
No.
And now you have a picture. I mean, you always probably had your own picture in your head. Now
well,
it's been...
So what I love about there's so many things I love about it being Stephen Cree, because I originally thought it was, in my mind, it's always been Grant O'Rourke who plays Angus. No, Rupert.
I know, I mix it up every
time. I know.
No, it's Rupert.
On Outlander. He was always the one in my head because he's really big and broad-shouldered and just ginormous. But when Stephen Cree was cast, he's not who I think of. His physique is not who I think of, but the fact that it's an Outlander actor, and I mean, we've seen pictures of Stephen Cree, okay, from the waist up, because there's a big joke on social media right now. You know, there are no pictures of him from filming with legs. They've all been from the waist up, but you start to get a feel for what he could look like, and I think I will be quite happy with that.
Go on.
You could see the Norse, like with him, as soon as they said, you know, they talk about Galaglass having like that Norse look.
Yes.
And with Stephen Cree, I think.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah,
like,
the big beard.
Like, are they going to let him, I don't know, what his hair?
Well, he was definitely growing his hair. So, because he made references to that on social media. So,
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it too. I'm very excited to see it. I'm curious how someone who isn't a book reader, I'm sorry, do those people exist? No, I'm kidding. People that find the show and just the show, that don't know the character from the book, I'm just curious how much of that. Now we know sort of what happens in the third book that makes you look back like you've been watching a thriller in reverse and going like, oh, the steps, the signs were there all along. If that creates conflict in someone's head about like, wait, I'm all in on Matthew, but like here's this other one that's just come in that's equally dreamy and you know is doing this kind of brawny keeper of Diana move like he does. We all know the difference. I'm just curious if you're a show watcher only, if it presents some sort of confusion or conflict.
Which makes me realize that I haven't really imagined Matthew and Galaglass together in the show. Matthew Good and Ian. Not Ian.
McCree.
He's Outlander. He's an Outlander, but Stephen McCree together. But that could be nice. Both in their Elizabethan garb and beards and
Screen implodes.
Right.
Screen implodes.
Right.
Nikki implodes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Tiny unicorns come out.
Maybe.
Like confetti.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Okay, fine. Enough Galaglass.
Is there ever?
Well, no, but
I wonder how much sideways glance, are they going to have him doing like sideways glances at Diana so that you kind of get the impression that, you know, he you know, you just wonder.
Gazes linger a little too long.
Yeah, if they're going to kind of put that in there to begin with, or if they're going to drop it and make it a bomb drop in season 3.
I think they're going to do hints.
Yeah.
I think for TV, you probably have to start to build some sort of, you know, suggestions.
Yeah.
So that when it happens in season 3, it doesn't come like 900, you know, totally out of left field.
Right.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Let's move on off of Galaglass, even though I don't want to. We will.
I don't think you don't want your mind.
Yeah, I know. So,
Sorry.
Wait, we do have an E rating for something. Okay, continue. You said you wanted to move off Galaglass, and I just don't picture that you would want to move off Galaglass.
I would not. And we remember we have to earn our E rating. So
there it is.
Right.
Make
So
me really play for it.
Right.
So Philip and Matthew reuniting. This one, it gets me. There's this whole season in like the second third of the book where they go back to set tours and Matthew basically gets to not reconcile with his father, but rehash a lot of moments, and it's kind of a beautiful thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he's, you know, we're always sort of trying to be mindful and in the present and sort of thinking, oh, you know, you never guaranteed a day and all of that stuff, but you don't actually intellectually do it, or you rarely do it, right? And here he is, he's there, and he's aware of it the entire time. And it's also interesting to watch Philippe kind of set things up for the future, which we're sort of privy to, because we know a little bit about where things are going. But you get a better feel for that, and that whole sort of having a do-over thing, I love that as a theme, and we get it later when her dad comes, right?
Yeah.
Because she gets to have an experience with her father that she never had, and she's just aware of that.
I was thinking earlier today, I wished, so I read Shadow of Night for the second time just a few weeks ago, and I really fell in love with it in a way that I didn't the first time around, just because I wanted to know how the story ended, and I kind of skimmed through it, and there were so many nuances that I missed along the way. And we did about a year ago, we did a Father's episode, and I wish that we could actually go back and do another one now after having, because I got so much more out of those two relationships, both with Stephen and Diana and Matthew and Philippe this time around. Just so many things that just made me, I just had to put the book down and have a few tears and then move on with my day.
Right. Yeah, and it's just, it's one of the reasons why I love Deb's books so much, is because they're so nuanced and have such depth and have such messaging that's important for us all to sort of step back and take a part of, and become aware of it, I guess is how you would say it in English, which clearly I'm not speaking, but anyway.
Maybe some Jameson's will help.
Really, exactly. Anyway, yeah.
I'm curious and I'd like to see Philippe with Diana too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he was the one, more than anyone, who has actually been accepting of her.
Yeah.
Even though initially he was skeptical, he turned around and he was the one that made her his daughter.
Right.
And accepted her wholeheartedly, more so than Isabel.
Yes.
Isabel's kind of like, okay. And I think she kind of does it. How much did Philippe tell Isabel? Because he encountered.
He sends her a note that she finds in the library, which we don't know the details of what it says.
Yeah. So how much does she know when Diana shows up? Or when does she find
She finds that note
after?
now while they're in Elizabethan England. So because she has that moment with Sarah where she says, after she's ripping apart the library looking for these little notes, and she finds it and says, they found them. And he makes reference to a child, which, they're not aware of, but he knew about the pregnancy.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to the Philippe and Diana's scenes for everything that you just said, Denise. And also just because as someone who lost a father so early on and has been raised by strong females, to see her sort of interact with this very dominant man and just the way she holds her own, but also is still showing a lot of compassion and tiptoeing and a bit trying to find her footing with him. And then when they finally strike up this relationship, it's now she has a father that she hasn't had the benefit of in 18 plus years or however long it had been. And that warmed my heart a lot to read those passages as she's fighting for his acceptance or just standing her own, not cowering down. But then when they finally have this warmth between them and you think, you kind of forget how much someone needs a father's love too.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the hay barn scene is critical towards that. And I'm sure they're doing that. Obviously the wedding. And when he takes her out into the woods beforehand with, the stag and sort of the whole pagan part of the ritual too, which I'm hoping they do something with that. But yeah, he catches on pretty quickly that, because Matthew comes back and he senses pretty quickly that this is a different Matthew than prior Matthew. He jumps in on that sort of prep for them pretty quickly. Although he does test Diana, right? That other witch, that guy comes, tries to read her mind, and she kills him. and she's sort of so when were you going to step in? Hello? Or Matthew might have said that. So he does, so he tests her just like Isabeau does. I mean, we all get tested, right? You meet the future in-laws. They're all kind of checking you out, right?
Yeah, I mean, my mother-in-law did it by silently shaming, not so silently judging how I organized our spice drawer. Well, this feels like a tad heavier.
Well, the spice drawers, there is only one way.
Which is?
I don't know. But
alphabetical. You couldn't go live with her then. I was going for
alphabetize your spices.
No, I was for sure going no, I'm sorry. That's the way we do it. And she moved them around so that these in the front are ones you use for cooking, and these in the front and back. No, she moved them. Oh. And the ones in the back are for baking. And I'm like, that's not how my brain goes alphabetical. She was like, this will be easier for me. I'm like, but
but you don't live
Oh,
here.
well, how nice that my spice cabinet is easy for you.
So when Diana was forced to kill a witch, I was there. It's just like the spice cabinet.
Yeah, it's all a challenge.
Yeah.
So do we want to do anything more with talk about the meeting with Stephen while we're talking about these do-overs or not?
Yeah, I mean, I love it so much because as the mother of a teenager who sometimes, no, quite often, gives me blank stares when I tell her things. And maybe she blinks to let me know that she heard me, but did she really hear me? And the idea of being able to have a do-over, to be able to take this knowledge with me into the future, and then at some point, when she's ready to hear these things, to be able to, and knowing that she would listen, I just think that's so beautiful, because I think at that point, you know, they'd been robbed of those moments when Diana was younger, and at this point, she's discovering herself, and she's discovering Matthew, and she's discovering magic, and then she meets her father, and she's so willing at that point to hear whatever he has to say, and she doesn't always agree with it, and you know, he's trying to teach her how to also another thing I identify with, but teach her how to not get so wrapped up into things, to be more free about life and more carefree. And you know, I think that was a really important and timely lesson for her, and I think the fact that he delivered it maybe drove it home in a way that it wouldn't have if anybody else, like if Sarah had told her, you know, you need to loosen up. No, Sarah was always the one going, no, you need to learn your magic, you need to learn your spells, and he's like, no, just enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Well, because she was so excited to actually have these moments with him, she was much more open to like, tell me everything.
Yes.
You know, because that's your last chance to talk to somebody. You know,
Yes.
Tell me everything. You know, and while that's not what his intent was, he understood that. You know, as parents do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about that whole section. All right, are we moving to sex?
You know what I'm excited about?
What?
Sex. So much sex.
Okay, I have fairly strong feelings about this, so
Tell us about them.
Well, just because, you know, we've had the slow burn, right? We've had the bundling.
Enough with that.
Right, exactly. It's time for some real life
penetration.
I was going to say interaction.
Oh.
But
well, that's another way of saying it.
I thought so. But anyhow, I have two passages in particular that I'm hoping we see in some variations. So everybody pay attention.
This is the part where you're going to use your Kathleen Turner voice to read it to us?
Right. I know. I'm going to try. I need to find it where. Let me see here. All right. Well, the first one is when they're going back and forth, which I also just think is funny, when they're going back and forth about sort of vampire, what people in the 20th, 21st century thought of vampires and those whole bodice ripping kind of stories and sort of the stereotypes of stuff, which I thought was like a cute wink by Deb onto sort of that genre. And so, Diana is describing the various things that humans think of vampires and witches, but how secretly hot people think that stuff is too.
I mean, I guess some people do, whatever.
Yes. They go back and forth with this really great dialogue that I hope they just sort of lift from the page and put on, the script and then act out. And Diane's talking about dinner and a date, and then, yes, you should see what Sarah's friends in the Madison Coven read. Vampire meets girl, vampire bites girl, girl is shocked to find out there really are vampires. The sex, blood, and overprotective behavior all come quickly thereafter. Some of it is pretty explicit. I paused. There's no time for bungling, that's for sure. I don't remember much poetry or dancing either. Matthew swore. No wonder your aunt wanted to know if I was hungry. Then they kind of go on there, and they have a whole sort of backlash, which, ends with them having sex.
Yay!
Yes. If I were a human woman and not a witch, that growly sound you just made would make me swoon. I also want to hear the growly sound. Just practice it, Matthew. Practice it. I'd be all yours and you could have your way with me. I giggled. You're already all mine, Matthew reminded me, depositing me on the bed. I'm changing this ridiculous plot, by the way, in the interest of originality, not to mention verisimilitude. We're skipping dinner and moving right on to the date. Readers would love a vampire who said that, I said. Matthew seemed not to care about my editorial contributions. He was too busy lifting my skirts. We were going to make love fully clothed. How deliciously Elizabethan. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. At least let me take off my bum roll. Annie had informed me that this was the proper name for the donut-shaped thing that kept my skirts respectably full and flouncy. But Matthew was not inclined to wait. To hell with the bum roll. He loosened the front ties on his breeches, grabbed my hands, and pinned them over my head. With one thrust, he was inside me. I had no idea that talking about popular fiction would have this effect on you, I said breathlessly as he started to move. Remind me to discuss it with you more often. Come on. Great scene. Just do it.
Well,
yes.
Too much talking. So much talk. Well, just shut up already.
Well, they had verbal foreplay. That's kind of sexy and hot. Plus, it was just funny referring to bodice zippers.
I was just making sure you were talking about the characters and not telling her to shut up. I was like,
sorry.
No. I realized. I was like, oh, no. She meant
No.
I'm with you, though. I can't imagine why they would feel the need to reinvent the wheel and write new dialogue here.
Mm-hmm.
Just lift it right out of there and drop it down onto the page. Just memorize that. Rinse and repeat. Yeah. Obviously, book 1 with the bundling was enough to prep you and have you ready for this moment, but the woman can write.
Yeah.
I think that's, I think there is an art to writing intimacy scenes and sex scenes, and she is a gifted woman at this.
I mean, one of the things that I like about these is I'm not opposed to graphic sex scenes. I just want to be clear with that. I'm not opposed, but she does a very cool thing in that you can imagine the graphic nature of it, but she doesn't actually use the words to describe it graphically.
Yeah, right.
And I really love that because she sort of sets the table for you, and then she just lets your mind do the rest. And I think that is a gift, as you said. Actually.
Less is more, but not so little that she gets you going, and then you're like, yeah, okay, I'm there. I can keep playing this out in my head.
Oh yeah,
and it's all good.
It's helped me through many lonely nights.
But also, Teresa Palmer and Matthew Good are not going to be terrible to watch on screen for all this.
No,
that's true.
That's going to be great.
I want the back against the wall.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And then my Diana flicks him across the room. That's cool also, right? Just, I
mean, that's what I love so much about these scenes is that it's about the sex, definitely, but it's also about the power and them sort of coming to terms with their own power. They're coming to terms with their own power. They're coming to terms with the other's power and how do they live in a house? How do they have a relationship with each holding those powers, and how does that work into their sex life and just, they're going to the grocery store life and they're trying to figure all this out. And I love those scenes because it's just, neither one of them are holding back anymore. It's like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this all the way, and we're going to do this with my magic and your vampire-y things, and let's figure it out. And, well, they did. They figured it out.
Yeah.
Quite nicely.
Which leads to the heart vein.
Yes.
Which we also really want to see. And this time around, reading that part, I was really struck by what a wonderful conceit or metaphor it is for letting go and accepting and understanding and sort of that sort of ultimate love, relationship, which, frankly, we can all have good relationships, but I think it's rare when you have sort of the kind of open honesty that she's talking about here, because on the one hand, he takes the blood from her heart vein and sees everything. Like, she can't control it, right? Just like she opens her witch's eye, her third eye, and she can see it, and he can't control it. And, what do we do when we're trying to be honest with our, partners or significant others, right? It's entirely up to us to sort of intellectually allow ourselves to let go, which, maybe we don't always do. I'll speak for myself. I don't always do it, because we're fearful or we're afraid or whatever. And the thing I love about this heart vein, which completely changed their relationship, is it gives you this idea of, but if you do allow yourself to take the leap to be in this place of complete, total openness, here's the possibility of what that might bring you in terms of your relationship. So while we don't do the heart vein and we don't do the third eye thing. There are other ways to take the message from this to say, yes, but if I let go of my bullshit and just stop being so fearful, I can actually make something better.
Yeah.
I love those scenes because we do this. The man who happens to be downstairs at this moment, I have this thing. I've never felt like this with anybody else, but sometimes I will just say to him, there's a disturbance in the force. There's something that I feel that's off. And sometimes it's because we're both holding back things. Sometimes maybe he's just stressed at work and I feel like it's something else. And I just did it this week. I'm like, I feel like there's a disturbance in the force, and he was gone, and we weren't talking on the phone, and we weren't communicating like we regularly do. And he's like, no, I'm just fine. And, sometimes the disturbance is on my end. Sometimes it's on his end. Sometimes, no, we really do need to talk and communicate. And I love this because it was like, up until this point, there had been a disturbance in the force in their relationship, and they had this moment, and they had their reckoning with it. And then they were able to finally, after this, act as a team.
Right.
They were playing singles matches before this. They were together, but he was doing his thing and she was doing her thing. And after this, they were like, okay, we're going to combine our forces. I know you don't have any secrets. I don't have any secrets. Let's try to tag team this world thing and see what we can do. And it works better for them. So I love that they reached that intimate level in their relationship through this act. Sex, yes, but it was also a very intimate act. And
she talked about we don't even necessarily always have sex now with the heart vein and witch's eye thing. Sometimes we just do that, as a way of reconnecting at the end of a day or whatever. And to me, the lesson is, and it's one that I, have repeatedly needed to learn just based on my past and my personality, but it's that idea of, if you let go of your fear, you actually have more opportunity. And I, often, I've been married to Peter for 37 years. And I think it was year 25 when I said to him, I actually finally believe you won't leave me. Now, there was nothing he had ever done to suggest anything other than he was in this 110%. But that was all me. And just my general sort of sense of, things from the past, blah, 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 right? But this is sort of what they've done with this heart vein thing. It's a similar kind of, message. Is if you let yourselves go in there, you will get, the rewards will be far greater than just the relationship itself kind of thing. Anyway.
I'm jealous of these people. I think that would be a lot easier.
It would be. Because it's a physical thing, right?
Yeah.
You just you can't do it, right? There's nothing about he puts his mouth to your, boob area. Anyway, and then the stuff just comes to him, right? And you don't have to worry about trying to couch it in some. Plus, he sees it clearly what it is, right? As opposed to, I'm trying to describe it in a way that I think will be okay for you to hear, or right? I mean, it's
completely that, and also sometimes I'm just I don't even know what the words are to get out what's in there, right. And I'm the more wordsmithy one of the two of us, right? And he's at a complete disadvantage thing because he's I'm never going to be able to properly communicate because I don't put words together like you do. I think both of it is not I'm scared to share so much as I'm not even sure how to get it up in the jaw and out of the mouth to voice it. It would be so much easier because I'm not opposed to you seeing it or hearing it or understanding it. I just don't even know how to get you in there to do it. This would be much easier.
Yeah. Right. Also, you could maybe take a nap while he's doing it.
That's what I think too.
Right? You could just have a nice rest and he could get the goings on of your day.
Do any of it. Right. I would just...
Yeah, you can make a to-do list.
Right. But he's done with it. He comes out. He feels good. Boom. Problem solved.
Lay back and think of the King of England.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. God, that would be so much easier.
It would be easier.
Yeah. No co-pays.
Just the whole bit would be easier.
Third eye, heart vein, whatever it takes.
Yep.
I'm in.
All right.
Should we have a wine note?
We should have a wine note.
You guys go with me on this one, okay?
Okay.
All right. Who loved It's a Witch in a Box?
Well, I loved me some Witch in a Box.
I love that you sing it every time we bring it up. So that really makes it awesome.
Drinking game.
Right, exactly.
So here we are together for a girls' night. I'm going to just go ahead and spoil it for the rest of you. We just ate our combined weight in cheese downstairs because that's what you do when you get together with your friends. You make copious amounts of cheese plates and dips that are all based in sour cream or mayonnaise, and then you swipe a carrot through there on occasion, and you just enjoy life. And what pairs with that better on a real bad girls' night? This one's, I mean, so bad it's good. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I do.
So bad it's good. You know where I'm headed?
Uh-huh. No.
It's another pop culture reference.
It's wine in a box. You people, I'm serious. Byron is going to teach us about wine in a box. That's apparently something we can learn about.
Boom.
That's right.
Byron made me an honest woman.
Hey there guys, it's Byard. This time we are going to be talking about boxed wine. Yes, that's right, boxed wine. I never thought I would be talking about that on this podcast, but we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of boxed wine and whether or not it's good. So Franzia started this years ago, but since then you've had a lot of entrants into boxed wine like Boda Box and Black Box that are quite good. For some reason, people equate boxed wine with low quality wine, but that's not always the case. Boxed wine can be just as good as wine that comes out of a bottle, and there are many factors to consider before determining a wine's worth based on appearances. Both boxed wine and bottled wine have the potential to be of poor quality and of great quality. Another factor in determining the quality of the wine is you, the taster. You may have a different idea of what a good wine tastes like than your neighbor. Therefore, if you both buy the same bottle or box of wine, you may both have different ideas of its quality. You might think that a dry white wine is of low quality, whereas your neighbor might love it. You might think that a dry red is horrible, but your neighbor might love it. Keep that in mind as you're determining a wine's worth. That being said, I think you ought to just grab a couple of boxed wines and try them out right next to bottles and see which one is best. But here we get into the pros and cons. So some pros of bottled wine is that it can age. If you like to cellar it, if you like to collect, you can age bottled wine. You can't really do that with boxed wine. Secondly, you get a lot of choices with bottled wine because it's been the standard for so long, so there are so many options. There are a vast majority of wineries that only produce bottled wine and not boxed, so the options are endless. The last one that I'll touch on is that once you open a bottle of wine, the clock is ticking. You have a short amount of time to finish that wine. That means you either have to drink more than you wanted, which, let's call it what it is not necessarily a bad thing, not open the bottle at all, or toss some of the wine out. The flip side is boxed wine can last from 4 to 6 weeks. So that means that you have a long time to finish the wine. This also means you don't have to drink more wine than you want to. I'll close out with one more thing. Store boxed wine just as you would bottled wine. If it's white, keep it in the refrigerator. If it's red, keep it in a place that is not near anything that emits heat or direct sunlight.
Thank you, Byard, for our
We think.
wine in a box. Okay.
Every time. Please never let that die. Please never make me kill that.
No.
Please.
No.
Maybe I was going to say maybe she'll come back, but no, she died a fiery death.
No, but we'll resurrect her in references, and then when we do, Ashley can sing.
That's right.
So we're all set.
And only then.
Okay, so next we've got Jack and Annie, and I call them Matthew and Diana starter kids.
Just brilliant, just FYI. It's just one of the reasons I love you.
Second would be that she has NPR socks. I just looked down to find those. Those are awesome too.
Right.
If you give them money, they'll send you socks. It's amazing.
Wow.
Perfect.
Yeah. So yes, they're the starter kids, and there's no particular scene that I think that I want to see. I just want to see the interactions, and we've seen little Jack.
Yes.
I don't know if I remember seeing pictures of Annie, but I know that we're going to have Jack, and he is just a sweet-faced little child, and I love those interactions because it gives us a glimpse into Matthew that we don't see anywhere else, because he's very tender with Jack, and you can tell he's going to be a good father. Because he has patience for Jack in a way that he doesn't with anybody else. And, when Jack has nightmares or when Jack has been naughty, because Jack's always naughty, he never erupts at him. He's always very kind and loving, and he tries to make lessons out of these things. And, we didn't get to see Matthew with Lucas. We get to hear about their relationship, but it kind of gives you an idea of what he would have been like with Lucas, and I love those because they make my heart happy.
I agree. Do you think that you gain more patience for small children's antics the longer you stay on Earth? Like, he's 1,500 years old, so it's just like, don't get riled up. It's fine.
It's like he's a grandfather.
Yeah, like,
and as a grandmother, I mean, you're just kind of like, oh, stop. You
Denise is like,
right.
Oh, yeah.
You say to your kids who are the adults, like, yeah, don't worry about that.
Right.
But when I was their age doing it, I was totally worrying about that. Or being maybe a little harder about it than I needed to be or whatever.
That's a really good point.
So
he's got some years in him and on him and has seen some things to be like, this doesn't even register. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point.
But I also I love the notion of their starter kids. Like, this is a hell of a first year of marriage they're having.
God,
really?
Year, all of it. It's not even a year. Yeah, right. It's like 2 months.
Right. Yeah, we're in like month 3.
Right. We met. We got married. Yes. We had a miscarriage. We picked up 2.
We went back.
We went back in time.
Oh yeah, we went back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. We've had to kill a few people.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She killed her first person.
Yeah.
Right. Benjamin shows up.
Yeah. And then they just picked up 2 kids along the way.
Yeah.
The Newlywed Game.
Right.
On crack.
True.
Right.
Oh, it's like Life, the board game.
The board game. They are either excelling all the way to the end or continually going backwards. But so I love the idea of the starter kids being thrust into here because they're already having a heck of a year, a heck of a 2 months, as it were. But like that you would get to see them have these moments with these kids to see what they'll be like when they do have their own kids, like so close to when they've just met. And, I don't know. I just, it's enough to watch them build their own relationship and her meeting the in-laws and whatever. And then it's just like, boom, insta family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It also adds to the poignance of their having lost a child.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the miscarriage is its own sadness, but then you see them with Annie and Jack and you realize just like how much they are actually in tune with being parents and sort of how they will be too. I think it makes that even more poignant.
I know we're not supposed to bring up Outlander past the first episode, except for when you
That's
told us
not
that
a
we're
rule.
allowed to do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
Did I lock us in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in now.
But this reminds me a lot of Jamie and Claire and Fergus.
Mm-hmm.
This always reminded me a lot of Jamie and Claire and Fergus. And I'm now granted Claire having a miscarriage came after Fergus came along, but just they've been through some turmoil. They're trying to find their way in their marriage, and then boom, almost insta family. But you're getting to watch them be in parental roles to see how they'll work with each other to make decisions for the betterment of the child, but also individually parent a child that isn't theirs.
And one of the themes of Outlander.
What is in your cup?
It's water.
Or
damn
what
it.
isn't.
Yes, I should have been doing Jameson's. Is about that the sadness that Jamie and Claire both had with not actually raising a child together.
Yeah.
And so it adds to that as well. So. Okay. Our list of things.
Breast. Yeah. Did I say breast?
You did. We'll cut that out.
Huh.
Will we? What's in her cup? Sorry. She's still back in her head being like, hey, Drew, want to come check out my heart vein?
Really? We'll just go downstairs while you guys have that chat. Anyway, Marcus and Phoebe meeting each other.
Yeah.
That's got to happen. It will. I mean, it's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Whenever I think of Phoebe, I think of Phoebe from
Friends?
No, 30 Rock.
Oh.
With brittle bones.
Yeah.
I have brittle bones.
Well, now it's going to replace me thinking of Phoebe from Friends. So,
I need to see them meet because I need to see Phoebe so that I can get the 30 Rock, visions out of my head.
And I just need more Marcus and his floppy hair.
Oh God,
he's great.
Okay, I know we had this moment already, but at the con, he is very naughty. He's very naughty.
That's good.
And
we like naughty.
I love him. He's great. So yes, it will be good to see him some more.
So all the witchy stuff, all the witch meetings, Goody Alsop, etc., how they're helping Diana. I'm really excited to see that. Cora, I'm fascinated. How are they going to do the Cora thing and not make it weird?
Okay, yeah. So fascinated is like a real good, that makes me feel better because the word I was going to use is like scared as hell. Like, how do you make that
not cheesy?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, but they've so far, like, they did the weaving thing, with the spider. I mean, they've done other things well that we were worried about. Deb has this. What's our hashtag?
Deb's got this.
Right.
Oh, I firmly believe Deb's got this. I just hope that, like,
I think they're going to be able to. But there's a fair amount of magic in this, or there's a fair amount of magical effects in this book. Like the whole play with Rudolph and where Diana plays a goddess and Matthew's a god, and he actually does fall asleep, and she rises up, and she's the moon, and she rises up literally, and everybody's watching, and then Rudolph, sort of comes to the rescue because he's so infatuated with her, like, oh, excellent effect, she actually was really going up, and stars were coming out of her head, kind of thing. And yet that sort of whole scene is, I think, I hope is in the show, because I think it plays to sort of that whole thing of seeing the book and everybody who comes together at that point. So I sort of feel like that play has to happen. And there's a lot of magic effects there.
Yeah.
But Cora, they have to. They've got to do something. And then, Goody Alsop has a fetch. And then there's the golem, right? Which is made out of clay. Now that isn't around that much.
That freaks me out. The little man made of clay that walks around the Jewish quarter.
Yeah.
No, I don't need to see that.
My point is they've got their magic hands, full of stuff.
No, it's
got to do well.
Yeah.
Right. Remember the rain, the crying, the water.
I know. There's just something about a fire drake. Like now we're talking about like a creature.
I know. Well,
Daenerys had her dragons,
and they worked.
It's true.
No, I know. See, but this is why I didn't watch Game of Thrones, because I was like, okay, I think I could get into it, and then it was like, dragon?
Oh, but they were totally real.
And that's when I pieced out of Game of Thrones, too. I was like,
dragon?
She's the mother of the dragons, and that's a nest of dragon eggs. I can suspend my disbelief for a while, but it sort of ends at dragons. But I love Cora.
I do, too.
Well, also, I will tell you, having watched Game of Thrones, I mean, it worked.
Harry Potter had dragons.
Harry Potter had dragons, and they were.
And I know that. Harry Potter. I know that. I'm just saying, and this is no disrespect to anyone at the Discovery of Witches production crew, but a Harry Potter budget and a Game of Thrones budget are different.
That's true.
That's the only thing that makes me nervous. But you got this. Hashtag Deb.
And let's be real, they have to have Cora.
Yeah, no,
they have to.
Cora is indispensable.
I think, I mean, I can imagine things. I can imagine ways, because so the spiders, the weaving and the spiders all over her, that wasn't in the book.
No,
they did that as a representation of her parents spellbinding her, and to make us understand that there was some really weird stuff going on right now. So maybe Cora's not actually a dragon. Maybe she's not like a full-fledged dragon. Maybe she's like a shadow or something that we see. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
Or they might have to explain it like you guys had to explain the spider web to me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what's up with the spiders? I don't remember spiders being in the book, and you guys were like, yeah, about that.
No, but it's only because it took us a while talking with each other to figure out, like,
what's up with this?
Yeah.
And I think actually Deb weighed in at some point about it. Sort of said, they chose to do this as a way of doing it. I vaguely feel like she maybe said something like it wasn't her favorite choice, but she was like, but I get it, just because, the book is the book, the show is the show. Anyway, so.
I think that's a valid point though, Nikki, is that how that gets manifested onto, or translated onto screen could be completely different than the way it is in the book.
They could use a projection light.
Oh, we're so getting one of those.
A projection light instead of it being a Christmas scene.
Well, like the light in our bedroom, which shows the time on the ceiling when we're going to bed, and we're like, what is going on with this?
That's like waterboarding.
Why do we need to see the light in the ceiling?
People
Right.
at home, listen
Yes.
up. Here's the situation.
Right.
Nikki possesses an alarm clock that you just kind of lean over and look on the nightstand to figure out what time it is. But then when I went to sleep and I laid my little head back, I looked up and the time was being projected onto the
On
ceiling.
the ceiling, and we were both like, "What?"
And if you're people who have to take sleep chocolate, like two of us are, you don't need to be reminded of what time it is in the middle of the night when you're not sleeping.
That you're not sleeping. Right.
Oh
So we've been hiding it.
So we blasted it back towards the wall and told it to shut up.
Yeah, that's
All right.
fine. I maybe should have mentioned that.
Did you hear her yelling the first time?
No.
It was a gin rant, and it was awesome.
It was a gin rant.
It was okay.
Anyway.
Continue.
Oh my. Okay.
Anyway, they could make Cora that way.
And we will talk more about this. Yes. And then there's all the alchemical stuff that they're going to have to do because I think they can't get away without
No, they have to.
doing that. So I mean that's going to be awesome too. I think.
Yeah.
And, I like the challenge of knowing that they have this thing and they think, well, maybe we can't do it exactly like it was in the book, but let's reimagine it. And so I like the anticipation of trying to figure out how are they going to do this and what will they do that maybe challenges us as book readers, but looks really great on the screen or really drives the point home.
I haven't seen who's playing Queen Elizabeth, but I'm hoping Queen Elizabeth will be in the show. I mean, she's in the books.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen any reference to her, but they do get invited to court and they do have to go. And of course, Matthew is the Queen's spy among his many hats that he wears.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this entire podcasting time, we've basically done to you what Diana's parents did, where we've just trapped you from talking about Elizabethan England. Do you want us to break those threads free now?
Yes.
I feel like it's time.
Do it, Janet.
Me squealing in the beginning. This is you. Just let it out.
No, I know. Well, we all have our Elizabethan England drinking game, but I'm
Stone cold drunk after this episode.
No, I know. So I hope we see Queen Elizabeth. I hope we get to therefore see her court. I'm hoping they can work in a little bit of, the Elizabethan music, even though I haven't seen any reference to it in the book. I think that would be nice. It would be very cool.
If they don't, maybe we could do a podcast where you play Elizabethan music.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I could do a whole Viola da Gamba episode.
Yeah. We
would have at least 2 listeners. Anyhow, so, yes. So I'm hoping that we have some, there's room for an Elizabethan feast in this production if they wanted to do it, and it would be awesome. So,
yeah.
Yes.
With dancing, music, all the pageantry associated with that, it would be great. I'm hoping it happens, but
I vote for that.
And I know I made a note here about, I wish there was Elizabethan yarn porn, but I don't know why I haven't. I actually thought about looking into it because I don't think they wore yarn. And so my hopes and dreams were having a whole series of, a discovery of witches yarn porn designs, patterns. It's probably not going to happen.
I mean, these are amazing times. You could do your own designs. You're Elizabethan inspired.
Yeah.
If we're reimagining Cora, perhaps, we can reimagine Elizabethan winter wear.
Right. Yes.
Right. Anyhow, those are my thoughts on just generally William Shakespeare, Kit Marlowe. I mean, just the whole idea of seeing these people, Walter Raleigh, et cetera, is just the costume, everything that we've seen, the behind the scenes snippets from Deb and Bad Wolf TV and everything. And it's every time they show something, my nerdy Elizabethan heart just gets really happy.
I'm here for the cod pieces.
Janet, can you sew that on a pillow? I might need you to sew that on a pillow.
Oh my God.
Drill!
Yes. Well, that probably seems like a good place for us to wind up this episode of things we're hoping for season 2.
Let's talk about the giveaway.
Yes, right. So we are doing this collaboration throughout the real-time Shadow of Night read-along with the All Souls discussion group on Facebook. So if you are not a member of that, we would encourage you to join in. It's a great group. There are 14,000 people. It's Deb's official page. It's really well monitored. They put up all kinds of information about the show and the books, et cetera, et cetera. And they're doing this real-time read-along. And we are doing giveaways periodically during that read-along. Our giveaways are called Full Moon Magic. So we're doing them around the full moon at various points during the reading. And we had our first one when it kicked off. And we're going to do at least 2 more, maybe 3, at various full moons. So if you're on that page, or if you, for some reason, are not following us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
Do it now.
Yeah,
Follow us.
Exactly. But Nikki will give those final names when she does her outro. But anyhow, yeah, so we're doing that, and we're really excited about it. We're thrilled we were asked to participate.
And we just want to say that we were so excited to have some really cool swag that we're going to be giving away in these giveaways. Our friend Valerie helped us come up with some cool designs for t-shirts and tote bags and magnets. And we have wine glasses as well.
Yes.
And we have put the wine glasses to the test. We've run them through their paces. They work. They hold wine. You can refill them with wine. It's very awesome. So those are the things that we're going to be giving away, and we're excited to share them with you guys.
We also are going to be selling them.
Yes.
Right, so stay tuned for our All Souls Witchy Women swag page on our website, and also just generally we'll be promoting them, but we are doing the giveaways. So get excited. So really the only thing we need at this point is we need a date for when they're going to have the premiere.
Yeah, come on already.
Because I think they're close to done shooting.
I think so. Yeah.
Just based on some hints on social media, I feel like they're getting near the end of their shooting. So, and I know it takes a long time to edit and do all that.
About as long as it takes to edit this podcast.
Well, hopefully not.
Knock on me.
Nope, it's not.
All right, I think that's it. Nikki, take us out.
Thanks for spending some of your valuable time with us as we discussed all things All Souls. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and that if you feel inspired, you'll leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to join in the conversation, find us on Twitter and Instagram at AllSoulsWW, on Facebook at All Souls Witchy Women Podcast and Blog, and online at AllSoulsWitchyWomen.com. See you soon.